What if you just listen to the universe? That's exactly what my next guest, Sigrun, did during her varied career, going from architect to CEO of a software company to eight-figure business coach. She's had a varied career and very successful career, but had some bumps along the way. Listen in to today's interview. Hello, dreamers. Welcome to the Late Starters Club, giving you the inspiration, mindset, and tools you need to start something midlife and beyond. Remember, it's never too late to follow your dreams. Hello, Late Starters. It's your host, Andrea Vall, and I am joined by Sigrun today. And she is an amazing person that I connected with a while back at Social Media Marketing World, I think is where we first met. I had known you before that, but that's where we first actually met. So I'm super excited to have you on the podcast today.
I am super excited to be here and talk about
Yeah,
how it is to be a late starter.
I know. Yeah. So Sigrun, just to give you guys a little background here, Sigrun is an award-winning business coach, international speaker, best-selling author, and top podcast host. She's on a mission to accelerate gender equality through female entrepreneurship, and she helps women start and scale their online businesses to seven figures with her tough love and no-nonsense approach to business and life. Love it. So, Sigrun, you started your business at 43, which is awesome, a late starter. I started a little bit younger than that, but your business has just skyrocketed. So, tell us about your story and how you started and why you started.
Yeah, so I originally studied architecture and then I went into computer science and business. And to make a long story short, I was looking for my path and I knew I wanted something mixture of creativity and also a bit scientific. So actually, I ended up being a project manager in a software company after my studies. And I was already, in my 30s, early 30s. And suddenly one day the company is sold and I get this crazy idea I could become the next CEO. And that's when I started on a completely different path. Originally my dream was to be an architect. And then when I finished my architecture studies, I was like, I'm not sure I want to be an architect. And then I got excited about the internet. So I studied computer science. And suddenly I'm there, like with a half a degree in computer science, full degree in architecture. And I started to think about being a CEO of a very small software company. There were only 15 people there. And this crazy idea just didn't want to go away. And I did not have a business degree. I did not have any business experience. But I got so excited about this idea. I felt after working there for a year, I knew all the clients, I knew how this worked, and I could do this. And of course, I had some doubts too, but people around me encouraged me to apply, and I applied and I got the job.
Mhm.
And from there, I was 10 years CEO in various small businesses. The largest business had 73 employees. They were making between seven and eight figures US dollars in revenue. And I did the fast track of learning how to run a business.
Mhm.
But after 10 years of running other people's businesses, you do ask yourself, why am I doing this for other people? Why am I not doing this for
Mhm.
myself? And these
Mhm.
thoughts will pop up from time to time. And I even was offered to buy one of the businesses I was running, but I didn't have the guts to do it. I also thought it was a huge financial commitment and I was scarce. And so I had this idea lingering around for a long time, whether I should go for it and do something of my own. And at the same time, I was like, well, it's got to be something amazing, like it's got to be this great business idea. So that you wait for and it appears when you're showering or on a walk and nothing came along. So I was like, okay, that's the reason I'm not starting a business because I don't know what it is supposed to be. But then I had actually met my husband. I originally come from Iceland. I started working there. I studied in Germany, studied in the UK, met my husband in London. I picked a
Mhm.
seat at a Tony Robbins seminar, and there he was.
Ah.
Uh, and so I moved to Switzerland to be
Uh-huh.
with my husband and my stepsons. And then I got a job in a small company. I was no longer the CEO. I was like senior project manager. You could call me a managing director because they had these tiny businesses. And suddenly I had a completely different job where I couldn't, I was pretty much sitting at my desk 9 hours a day. And
Mm.
this exhausted me. I started to feel pain in my body. The desk was too high and the chair too low, and I got neck pain. I got shoulder pain, back pain, headaches started to appear. And I ignored it at first and thought, oh, this is maybe because I'm driving. So I stopped driving a car. Then I took holiday and thought this would go away if I didn't work on a computer for 2, 3 weeks. And then it came back and it was even
Mm.
worse.
Mm.
And one day the pain was so bad I couldn't work anymore. And nothing was visible on the outside. I think they even doubted I was sick, my
Oh,
employer, and ultimately they fired me for being
yeah,
sick.
yeah. Wow.
Uh, and I was sick for 7 months,
Mhm.
and I could not sit at the computer like 10 minutes, and then the pain would flare up, and I almost
Mm.
ruined my stomach from painkillers.
Mhm.
And it was with various different methods. I went walking every day for an hour. I did physiotherapy, trigger point therapy, stretching, you name it. And
Mhm.
slowly, like 3, 4 months in, it started to get better. And then I thought to myself, I cannot go back to a job like that. Actually, the doctor
Mhm.
said, you cannot work there.
Right.
And and I was still scared, like when you are sick, is this the right time to start a business? So, of course, I was thinking this would be a good time because I need to take care of my health. But also, the great business idea wasn't there yet. So,
Waiting for that message from the
waiting
universe,
for
right?
that message. Yes. So, I felt very lucky when I got a phone call that Icelandic software company needed a country manager in Switzerland. So, I said, this is
Mhm.
the perfect fit. I've studied computer science, I've been running businesses. But that job involved cold calling.
Mhm.
And I had to drive 1 hour distances to customers, and then my pain would flare up. So ultimately, I had to go. I had to leave the job. Basically, I told them to fire me, and they did. And so then I had lost my job twice in 2 years and been sick for 7 months. And I said, this is it. And I went on a soul searching thing, a little bit like Alchemist
Mhm.
in the Paul Coelho book.
Mhm.
There's a little
Mhm.
boy searching for
Right.
treasure. He goes on trip around the world
Right. Right.
only to actually find the treasure in his backyard. And
Yeah.
that was me. I had all
Yeah.
these business ideas. I should be a photographer. I should be a travel book author. I should be a management consultant. And the business coaching was screaming at me, and I didn't want to see it.
Mhm.
But ultimately, after 18 months of overthinking, I just said, this is it. Here's my blog post, and off I go, and I'm going to be a business coach.
Right, so how did you launch that at that point? Like, how did you just set up a website, hang up a shingle, and what were the launching steps? You had all this experience running these big businesses, and how did you take that into launching your own business? Like, those
Yeah.
early days, how did you get your first clients?
It's kind of funny because in the meantime, I had done an MBA at London Business School, which is one of the top business schools in the world.
Mhm,
I had been
mhm,
10 years a CEO. I had actually been a business consultant for various startups on the side and in between
mhm.
jobs. So I was like an expert in business plans. Did I write a business plan for my own business? No, I did not.
Oh, that sounds familiar.
I started to write I started to write blog posts. I was still searching, so I wasn't still clear on what it was that I was doing. So absolutely not the perfect start. And I think there's probably no business that has a perfect start. But I
Right.
was writing blog posts like how to find your passion, how to turn your passion into profits, all kinds of things like that. And it was like therapy for myself, but I put it on a website so the public could read. I don't know if I had many readers, probably not. But I was active in Facebook groups. I
Mhm.
was very active in Facebook groups. And I was so active that I probably sometimes spent like 4, 6 hours a day just answering questions without hidden agenda. Like I didn't even have an offer. I didn't know that I was going to be a business coach. And
Mhm.
people started tagging me. So when I finally made up my mind and said, this is what I'm doing, it actually, I thought, oh, now they will come. Well, the first 2, 3 months, nothing happened. And then I got the idea of actually have creating a little course that it would be for free. And I called it Passionathon. So basically, the idea was that you find your passion and your business idea
Mhm.
7 days. Later, I turned it into a 4-week course.
Mhm.
My problem became my business idea.
Mm. Mm.
And 134 people, because I had been active in all these groups, 134 people signed up. I had 1 week to promote it. I decided
Mhm.
to start it in a week. And then I had all these people going through the program and they loved it. They said it was a little bit short, it was 7 days, changed it to
Uh-huh.
4 weeks later on. And from that on, I had my first sale. Somebody went
Mm.
to my website and bought 1 hour business coaching for $180. And it's the best money I've made in my life.
Isn't that true? The first I launched a program for, when I was back in 2009, or maybe it was 2000, yeah, no, it was 2009, and I remember I think I got 2 sales, and for, like, I think it was like $100 each or something like that. Maybe it was 200, but I was over the moon. I was like, "Oh, you get hooked from that first." Like, I made money out of nothing, right? It's other than the 4
Yeah.
to 6 hours a day, and
Yes. Yes. Well, and
yeah.
18 months of overthinking and all that other
Yeah,
stuff that it
yeah,
did
yeah,
before. But
yeah,
I
yeah,
celebrate this day every year. I send an email to my email list and say,
yeah.
26th of March, 2014, I made my first sale. And I talk about how
Mhm,
important it is to celebrate these moments and remember them. Remember where you started and
right,
and be grateful for what you have
right.
achieved. And well, I made this one sale. I
Mhm,
think what I did for the next 6 months is something I call spaghetti marketing. It's when you
mhm,
do all these things that you think you should be doing, you see other people do, but there is no proper strategy, and it actually doesn't lead to massive results. Like, it's just,
mhm,
ugh. I started to make sales from this course. I sold a few single sessions, and I got actually someone approached me that knew me and said, "Can you make a website for me?" And I'm like, "Ooh, I don't want to be doing that. That's not my business."
yeah,
But I needed the money. I needed the money. So I took that project and it kind of helped me over that first hump. And at some point, it was summertime. So 6 months into my business. And I'm like, oh, $1 or $2,000 a month, this is not going to go well. Someone who had a six-figure salary before, this was
mhm,
really kind of
mhm,
not what I wanted. I really want to at least replace my previous salary.
mhm,
And then I wanted to try out doing a webinar. And I did a webinar and I actually did a webinar on Canva, not business coaching,
mhm,
just teaching
mm,
tools because that felt
mhm,
simple. I got 67 signups without ads.
mm,
And I was like,
yeah,
whoa, I'm onto something. And I knew I had to build my list. And so I liked it so much that I started weekly webinars. But the thing was, I was still not making proper offers or proper,
mm,
I didn't have something more than 1 hour sessions or a 4-week online course. So it's like every time someone would buy something from me, the amount was so small, I was not going to be able to live from this. And in September, so 9 months into my business, I said to my husband, I think I have to bite the bullet and I have to actually get help. Like, I have to have someone teach me how this works.
right,
And I had to swallow my pride a bit, I must say. Having
yeah,
run a company and being in a position where I was interviewed at least once a month by a newspaper or magazine because I was a female CEO and you get a lot more attention. And suddenly you're there and you kind of start from the beginning.
yeah,
Let's say you are really, really good on skis and now you want to learn
mm,
snowboard and you're constantly falling. And you're like,
mhm,
oh, I don't want to be a beginner again. Even though I had been running IT businesses, and one of the businesses I run was the website agency, I did not know how online business really worked.
mhm. Yeah, and like you said, you've had so much experience, MBA, CEO experience, and I think that it's interesting that both helps you, but also can be a mental block to say, "Oh, I don't need to learn anything new because I have all this other experience. I should be able to figure it out." And
Yeah.
I think it's a real testament that you actually said, "I need help," because that is a hard thing to say. And I think it's also, like you said, humbling at this age to think, I should have this all together, right? So
Yeah.
I think that's great. And it's a testament to your growth because you have had amazing growth. You had a recent $2 million launch. And I think that people will also maybe look at your time span and say, wow, she's essentially an overnight success from the time you started your business. It didn't really take that long to get to that $2 million launch mark. But you've had this wealth of experience. You went in and said, I need help. I'm going to learn more. And that's where everything came together.
Yeah. And it was literally actually just investing. The first program I invested this was $5,000. So I didn't start low. I kind of like
Mhm.
immediately went for a premium program and just paying with my credit card. I got an email. I think it was literally the same day or the next day. I got an email from a man who had been reading my blog posts and asked if I did coaching. So I think there's something about, you don't have to be woo woo, but there is this energetical exchange where when I'm ready to willing to invest in myself, then people also want to invest from me. So you kind of put out that energy.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I love that. I love that. So are there any other bits of advice you have for people who are maybe like scared to learn something new or like are feeling hesitant? How would you say to get over that hump or that obstacle?
Yeah, I think it's really important to, realize that you need to learn something new. Like we
Mhm.
are not born being a leader or born being a CEO. Like I had to learn all these things. It's just when you get older, you feel like you should know it, like you said
Mhm.
before. And I wasted so much time. I don't have any regrets really because these are great stories to tell
Mhm.
on a podcast or with my
Mhm.
clients. But when I see now my clients that come into my programs and they start at zero and they invest right away, and I'm like, I wish I would have done that. Instead of waiting and waiting and hoping it will somehow work out. And
Mhm.
sometimes it's just a mindset shift. This investment that I made. Yes, I learned how to launch, which is my favorite topic, is launching. As you mentioned, I love having seven-figure launches today, and back in the days, just having a five-figure launch, that was great. But what was most important was this mindset of like, I'm in business and I need to make money, so I need to make an offer. And you cannot just expect people to reach out to you and say, "Hey, I want to buy something from you." You need to actively put the offer in front of them. Now, the first
Mhm.
offer I put in front of people with this new program, nobody wanted it. Actually, one person bought and I had to refund them. So, actually, my first launch looked like a massive failure, but I pivoted and was able to just offer one on one coaching packages instead of selling online courses. And in the next 3 months, I make $55,000. I made 85% of my first year's revenue in 3 months.
Wow.
So once it clicks, it really clicks in this business. And, that was really so important to me. And I realized since then, I've always been a part of some programs. Sometimes I'm part of too many programs, I must say, but you constantly have to be learning.
Yeah.
And whether it's books or podcasts, or I actually also recommend people are a part of a mastermind.
Mhm.
People kind of pull you with them. So you can't
Mhm.
really fall back and just, stay in your comfort zone. You're constantly being challenged to try out something new. And since then, I have done that. So it was just in the beginning, I was like, yeah, I can do this on my own. And I will invest once I have the money, realizing that actually I have to invest first to make the money.
Mhm. Mhm. Yeah, for sure, and it is kind of a weird energetic shift that happens, and I think that when you say, "My business is worth it," I think the universe says, "Yes, it is," so yeah, but also taking action, not just investing, right, obviously.
Yeah.
So, yeah, so you've had a varied career and, obviously working on our own as an entrepreneur, a lot of times there can be so much overwhelm because we have all the possibility in front of us, right? We can do anything we want. So, when you have gotten overwhelmed, how have you gotten your mojo back?
Well, I actually have a concrete story for you, which was probably
Mm,
more than overwhelm. I completely lost my energy. And I
mm,
think one thing to point out with late starters is that we are maybe not bringing up small kids. My stepsons are
mhm,
now 18 and 19, but I have aging parents.
mhm.
And
Yeah.
1.5 years ago, I got a phone call that my father was in the ICU in Tenerife, Spain, which is the Canary Islands.
Mm,
And I was helping my mother reach the insurance company so they would pay for for the hospital bill. And, it was a huge shock for me for him to land in a hospital in a foreign country where you cannot just go for a visit. And the next day, he was not feeling better, actually feeling worse. And I really thought I was going to lose my dad. And that's when I booked a plane ticket. I had to decide quickly. They don't fly every day from Iceland to Tenerife, Spain,
mhm, mhm.
just twice a week. So I was like, okay, I'm flying tomorrow because otherwise
Right.
it's 3 or 4 more days.
Yeah.
And I just left everything. I told my clients and my team, I'm gone. And this is my priority right now.
Mhm,
And it's very good that I had built a big business and the business doesn't solely rely on me. My programs could actually run without me. And
mhm.
that's important thing that I tell the women I work with. They're so scared of scaling up and having bigger
Right.
businesses and having teams. I'm like, I could not have left my business just like that if I had a really
Mhm,
small business and not a team. Anyway, I leave and I pack for 2 weeks because I think, okay, I'm going there. I don't know how long I will be. I ended up being 2 months
mm.
supporting my parents. My mother got sick as well. My dad got COVID in the hospital.
Huh.
So when he was about to recover from his pneumonia, he got COVID and he ended up being 64 days in isolation. And
Wow.
I think during all of this, of course, I'm supporting them. So, and then I worked almost nothing on my business. I really just left it behind and I didn't realize. And then we came home just before Christmas, just before. Like this was the weirdest Christmas I've had because no one had time
Mm.
to decorate or do anything big because, my
Right.
dad was there, but he was so weak after lying in hospital for 2 months. And then we're all in shock. And then I go into a launch in January, and against all odds, it's a seven-figure launch.
Mhm,
But after the launch, I was finished. I was just absolutely finished. And
mhm.
basically whole of 2022, whole of last year was me just recovering from this
Mm,
experience. At the
right.
same time that my parents are sick and I'm taking care of them, I lose my most important person on the team, my
Mm,
marketing director, who's been with me 6.5 years. It was
mhm,
time for her to leave. So, like, if she wouldn't have gone, I would have to have let her go because our
mhm.
relationship and her role in the team was no longer the one that I wished for. But still,
Mhm.
I realized that was another almost like a
Loss.
divorce
Yeah.
or a
Yeah.
loss. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
had
Just
this.
the
That's it.
grief.
Yeah. Yeah. There was a grief. I went through this grief. I saw these holes in my business, and
Mhm,
every time I was just feeling grief. I missed her.
mhm,
I
mhm,
really missed her, and I
yep,
missed her beyond a regular employee. I felt because we
mhm,
had really worked together so long, and she was with me almost from the beginning.
mhm,
And so, what did I do? I did not. even though some people suggested I go and talk to some therapist, I ended up not doing it. I have nothing against therapists. I've gone to many in my life and they've always been
Mhm.
helpful. But I realized I just needed to, for me personally, I felt I just needed to wait, spend time with family, take it easy in the business. We just made the same revenue in 22 as in 21, so no growth, but also no, it didn't
Yeah, no
go
backsliding. Yeah,
less.
right,
Yeah, no
right.
backslide. But I've spent, yeah, I just really took care of myself and spend a lot of time with friends and family. And then towards the end of the year, I felt my energy come back and then I could have a $2 million launch and dinner. But yeah, it is important. I think when you're a late starter, this is a topic.
Yeah. Yeah, because right, and people don't bring that up and don't talk about that enough, I think, as we're dealing, working with our aging parents. I had a similar thing in 2021 with my father who then, battled cancer and ended up passing away. And it takes you down at the knees, and it's hard to you can't plan for that. You can't plan, "Oh, just in case, this big medical emergency happens and I need to be offline for 2 months," you know? So, I think that's an important thing to realize, and I also think that our energy is different here in midlife. When I was even just, when I was starting my business, whatever, 14 years ago, I could stay up till 2 o'clock working on stuff, and
Yes.
that's no longer the case. I'm like, that's 11. That's late enough. Let's go to
Yeah.
bed. So,
Very true. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. But I do think, like we were talking beforehand a little bit about, just being a perfect time to start something new at the same time, because
Yeah.
I think we've got wisdom, right? Wisdom beats energy, is that I don't know. So, awesome. Well, I that's great that you were able to be there with your family. I think that's also an amazing reason to start a business, because that's huge to have that
Yeah.
time to support your family. So, that's
Yeah.
great. Great. So I can't believe we're at the end of our time already. It's just been a joy talking to you. But as you know, I love to kind of end our time together with either a quote or inspirational saying that has inspired you to, in this time, to keep going and gets you going. So I'd love to hear your inspirational quote.
Yeah, when I was actually only 10 months into my business, finally
Mhm.
figuring this thing out, one of the people I talked to on a free discovery call was on the TEDx board in Zurich
Mm.
and invited me to speak based on all my
Yeah.
webinars. So that was
Mhm.
like amazing because it
Mhm.
wasn't my vision board and I didn't think it would come through so fast.
Yeah.
And as I was preparing my talk, I also wanted to have a quote. And my talk was very much about having a vision, following your dreams. And I found this beautiful quote by Oprah. You've got to follow your passion. You've got to figure out what you love, who you really are, and have the courage to do that.
Mm. Yeah. I love that. I love that. It definitely takes a lot of courage to step into that and to plant your flag out there, put it out there, start that business. And I am so excited for all your success. So congratulations. And hopefully next time I get to Iceland, I can see you. I know you travel around a lot, but we missed each other last year when I was there, but hopefully we'll see each other. I know we'll see each other in person sometime soon, but
Yes.
thank you, Sigrun. Why don't you let people know where they can find you or how they can get connected to you? Feel free to share any free resources, and we'll have
Yeah,
these links in the
great.
show notes.
Yeah. First of all, if anyone wants to start an online business, I have written a book, Kickstart Your
Mhm.
Online Business. Create an online course and start to make sales. So, based on my own experience of having that free course in the first 3 months of my business, that actually was the beginning. And now it goes a lot faster, 10 weeks to start your business. You find it on Amazon, Kickstart Your Online Business. And best way to connect with me, my website is sigrun.com and I'm Sigrun.com. one word, on all social media channels. And I am on LinkedIn, Instagram, and Facebook.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, Sigrun, thank you so much for sharing your wisdom with our late starters here. And I'll just continue to root for your fabulous success.
Thank you for having me, Andrea. It's
Mhm.
been a pleasure.
Bye, everyone. Hope that was helpful, and make sure you grab the free guide, Top Tools for Late Starters, on the website at latestartersclub.com. And let's turn dreaming into doing.